Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Carter. I'm the Emergency Response Meteorologist with the National Weather Service. Today is Monday, July 13th, 2026, and we have the continued flood threat and the return of the heat that we will be contending with this week. So, the weather pattern that we have is actually one that is much calmer than we saw over the weekend. We had a good, thorough, soaking rain, a lot of it for a good part of the Commonwealth yesterday, but we'll see the map in a second. It kind of was the story of the haves and the have-nots. Everyone saw at least something, but some of us saw far more rain than others. But that pattern is getting a lot calmer. We'll be seeing kind of a cooler day today, at least for, mid-July. However, it will remain cloudy. We'll see the sun return and things really crank up, the heat returning for the middle and end of the week, but kind of that transition period today where we're still working on getting rid of a little bit of that cloud cover. A few showers going to be lingering today, especially for Southwest Virginia, and there's a chance for a few thunderstorms embedded, but severe weather really is not the threat. We're looking at the potential flooding risk just due to the primed soil. We have, coming out of a drought, we're still in a drought, but continued rainfall in certain parts of the state have already primed the area, and then we have more rain heading our way today. Things are looking pretty benign through the end of the week, and then we will see increased storm chances, specifically watching the potential for severe storms getting into the weekend. But backing up to our flood watch, Southwest Virginia, many of our counties here under this threat through this evening. And as I mentioned, severe storms really not in the forecast. The Storm Prediction Center does not put even a marginal risk for anywhere in the state. We might see a few thunderstorms embedded within these slow moving showers, but that's the key. These are just showers that continually kind of feed off of each other. They train and they go over and over the same area. They are slow moving, they're continuous. And that's why we're seeing that flood threat really reinforced with today's rain potential and some high rainfall rates as well. Here's our 72-hour observed rainfall. So you definitely see that there were some pockets in portions of Southwest Virginia and even Northern Virginia that saw noticeably higher amounts. In fact, Northern Buchanan County, that part sticking up there, over 4 inches, almost 4.5 inches of rain over the course of 72 hours. You'll notice portions of Northern Virginia also in that 2 to 3.5 inch range. But then we have parts of, central region, South Central, and it's anywhere from 1/4 of an inch up to maybe an inch or even less than that. So definitely some hot spots and some lower end amounts. The Eastern Shore also tapping into that higher rainfall amount as well. So it really depends on where you are at and what the forecast is going forward. So all of that being said, I pulled up our 1 hour flash flood guidance. Remember, this takes a look at the recent rainfall, how the ground is primed, and then just other indications of what the forecast is, how much rain we're expecting, and how fast it could fall. So over the course of 1 hour, you'll see that our flash flood guidance in Southwest Virginia is in that yellow to even bordering orange and red. That's anywhere from 1/4 of an inch up to 3/4 of an inch is all that this area needs over 1 hour to get a flash flood, or at least have that potential. And this would be very easy to do with the showers that we do see continuously again in Southwest Virginia today. Now, I didn't want to ignore the area in Shenandoah that has also a very low flash flood guidance. You'll see right, at the intersection of Shenandoah, Page, Greene counties, out that way, it is a very, very low flash flood guidance over 1 hour, about 1/4 of an inch, maybe up to 1/2 an inch. But that is, rain is not expected in that area. So it shouldn't be overlooked. But at the same time, we're not expecting rain that far north. The threat is really limited much farther south of I-64 today. Looking ahead at the threat beyond today, flooding is really out once we get past today. So not only are we not looking at severe storms, we're also really not looking at even any rainfall. So today through Wednesday, even to the end of the week, the rainfall threat is going to be behind us for a while. Pivoting to that severe weather threat, really, as I already mentioned, The light green that you see shaded for part of Southwest Virginia is just a general thunderstorm threat. It is not on the threat scale for severe storms. So thunderstorms are possible, but we're not expecting severe weather. And that's going to be the case. No severe weather and not even a thunderstorm threat through the middle and end of the week. Getting back to what we're expecting today, again, rainfall amounts anywhere from about a quarter of an inch up to 1 inch of rainfall, generally speaking, and then a few pockets of us that do see those showers that just set up and really are unrelenting will see heavier amounts than this. So this is kind of a general idea, and we will definitely be seeing some pockets of isolated higher amounts. And that is where the isolated, of course, flooding threat comes into play. Tidal flooding, when we take a look at our coast, this is a different issue unrelated to the rainfall. This is really just due to the king tide cycle. So the king tides are the time of the year we just have higher than normal tides. Regardless of weather conditions, the tides are just in a higher period, and that's why we're going to be seeing the threat for nuisance to maybe up to low end minor flooding right along our immediate coastline. So these locations are well known to have some standing water, but generally speaking, they're not those populated areas because they so frequently do see water coming up. And that's about up to 1 foot above ground level possible for our coastal locations. Taking a look at our rainfall forecast, the left side of your screen shows the first half of the week. So today is the only chance in the first half of our week for some rainfall. That's why you see Southwest Virginia being the focal point. And then for that second half of our week, we're talking Thursday through next Monday. So really the focus is late week through the weekend. We have another chance for showers and thunderstorms through the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Now, right now, we are looking at the threat of severe storms. I've already had some questions about it. Some folks reaching out, hey, I've heard that there's already a chance for severe storms this upcoming weekend. Yes, absolutely. What we're looking at, though, I will say, is that on paper, the dynamics do look good for some strong to severe storms Saturday and Sunday. However, as we all know, we're talking up on Monday about something that might happen for the upcoming weekend. On paper, it could look good. It's a matter of if what the models are saying, predicting really comes true. So it remains to be seen. It's too far out. There are not any outlooks or anything like that. The Storm Prediction Center has not put us under a slight or even an enhanced risk. It's too far out for that. So we'll just keep an eye on this upcoming weekend in the coming days. One last thing that I'll leave you with is the heat. Again, today and tomorrow, kind of taking a break from things. We'll see highs in the 80s to low 90s, but then triple index heat index values, I should say, triple digit heat index values return starting Wednesday, and it'll be right around or just below heat advisory criteria. So whether or not there are heat advisories issued, it's going to be hot regardless. Not quite as hot as the last heat wave that we were just coming out of, but triple digits feels like temperature's going to be here for a while. We're going to be feeling it as we get through the weekend. And then turning your attention to the probability of precipitation on the right side of your screen, you'll see once we get past today's rain and flood threat, things are pretty quiet through Friday with increased rain and storm chances Saturday and Sunday. And the last bit of good news here is the tropical weather outlook. The National Hurricane Center is not anticipating the development of any tropical activity within the next 7 days. We are keeping a close eye on a few things in the models that are kind of differing at this point, but there are some hints that there might be something developing in the Gulf this upcoming weekend, and then where it goes and what happens from there could impact the Southeast United States by the middle of next week. But again, that's too far out. So that's another thing we'll keep an eye on. But in the meantime, today we'll get through our flooding threat, and then we will be pretty quiet until the heat returns later this week. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next time.